Are you sick of using AA batteries for your Spektrum DX5 radio? Maybe you tried some rechargeable ones and were not happy with them either. Well, stick around, I'm going to show you how easy it is to switch your radio to using a Lipo, lithium-ion, or LiFe battery. Welcome back to the garage, everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to swap out the battery tray that holds AA batteries in your Spektrum radio and use a rechargeable lithium-ion, lithium polymer, or a LiFe battery. Now, I do have to make a disclaimer. Spektrum does not state that you're able to do this in the manual. I'm sure this would void any warranty that comes with the radio, but if you're willing to take the chance, I've done it myself. I've seen others on the forums and in videos do it with success, and I've had no issues going on about 6 months of using it. There are a couple little things to point out along the way, and I will show you those. But first, let's get into it. This is my Spektrum DX5C radio. I've been very happy with it so far. When you get it, it comes with a small battery tray like this. The wires are very short, and this is made to hold 4 AA batteries. You can use your standard alkaline batteries or rechargeable nickel metal hydride batteries. They do not last that long, and I was unhappy with the performance with them trying either of those. So I had this battery laying around. This is a Spektrum lithium-ion battery, a 2000 milliamp battery that came with my Spektrum DX9 radio. It also came with this nice little foam insert to keep it from moving around in there. So in order to install this into the radio, I'll show you what I did. When you open up the battery bay in here, you're going to find this tray sitting in there. And below that is this little piece right here that this screws into. The first thing I did was cut out the battery tray in the bottom of the DX5. I cut the wires as close to the battery tray as I could because the wires are very short and you want to have a little bit of wire to work with while you're soldering. After I removed the battery tray, I undid the screws on the bottom of the radio, which allowed me to split this in half and take this small piece out right here that was held in by those little tabs here and here. After I had the exposed wires, I decided to go with an XT30 plug. So I soldered on a female XT30 onto the radio. This battery right here came with this same type of plug. This is from my Spektrum DX9. Or you can also buy lithium polymer batteries, Lipo batteries, LiFe batteries with the same type of plug. However, this plug has very small terminals. It's not easy to plug and unplug, and I think it would wear out much faster than an XT30. So I decided to go with the XT30s. They're small and easy to solder when you have a small amount of wire. I soldered the XT30 onto here and gave myself some extension so I had a little bit more wire to work with. It takes a little bit of tinkering around to get this in there the right way, but I like to put this on here, get that seated in. There you go, and it fits in just like that. If you don't have this type of foam, you could cut a little scrap of wood, some other foam, any packaging, anything that's going to keep the battery from rattling around. It's been really nice to go out for an afternoon and not have to worry about the batteries dying after a few runs. I can usually get at least a week or two of runtime at the amount that I use it with using this battery. There are other options, such as this battery right here. This is made by Ace. This is a 4000 milliamp Lipo, and this is double the capacity of the 2000 milliamp one that I'm using. This will not quite fit in there unless you do a couple little things, and we'll talk about that in a second. Before we do that, I just want to show you a couple other important things to point out when you're using a Lipo battery in the radio. We're going to go into the menu system, and it's going to give you a choice between nickel metal hydride or alkaline. The difference between those batteries is the voltage is a lot lower, so the voltage that is going to show up on here is going to tell you the correct voltage. However, the percentage bar of the battery is going to be quite different. It's going to read its full even when the voltage is dropping down below where you want it. If you're using a Lipo or lithium-ion LiFe battery, I'd say you'd maybe want to run it down to 3.4 volts per cell, which is going to be 6.8 volts overall. Normally, we'd like to keep the voltage a little higher on the batteries in our car, but for a low current draw in something like a radio, it's okay to let it go a little lower. Right now I have the battery fully charged. That is a lithium-ion battery, so if you're using the lithium-ion setting on a charger, it's going to charge it to 8.2 volts. So as we can see right here, that we're reading 8.2 and it shows a full battery. But if we go into the settings and we select the battery setting, you can see you can toggle between alkaline or nickel metal hydride. Either way, the voltage alarm, the highest you can set it is 5.6 volts, which is way lower than what you would want when you're using a LiFe or lithium-ion battery. It's important to note that you're not going to be able to rely on the battery warning when the voltage gets lower or by this bar up here, because it's going to show much higher than it actually is when you're using this type of battery. The last thing I want to talk about is what other types of batteries you could use in this radio. Assuming you find a way to connect it, which you can use any standard plug. There's a bunch of different size batteries. The internal dimensions of this are, and I will put them on the screen. However, there are small tabs along the bottom and in the front here that are made for holding this battery tray. If you take a Dremel, an X-Acto knife, a sharp screwdriver, and you knock those down a little bit, you're gonna be able to get a few more millimeters of depth and also a few more millimeters of length from front to back. There is enough space in here where you could actually tuck this battery underneath there, assuming you remove those tabs. I have not done that yet. I probably am going to in the future, so I can use this battery in here as well. And that's how easy it is to swap out your AA batteries for a LiPo battery or any other battery of your choice. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please hit that like button and maybe share it with someone else so you think could benefit from it. I will be having many more videos to come on different trucks, cars, tips, hacks to make your RC life a little easier. Again, the last thing I want to say is this will void the warranty. Spektrum does not recommend you do this. So please keep that in consideration that you will be voiding the warranty if you do this modification. I have not had any issues, and I will let you know if I do in the description if anything happens in the future, but I've seen many other people talk about how they've done the same modification with no issues. If you do have any questions on how I did this, please let me know in the comments, or maybe I can make a more specialized video on soldering. A couple other things I want to point out is if you don't know how to solder and you're in the RC hobby, you gotta learn. It's just part of the hobby. I was very hesitant to do that. You gotta buy a solder gun, could be expensive, could be cheap. Buy a nice solder gun, it's gonna pay for itself in the long run. You're not gonna have to buy all these small adapters and specialized plugs because you can just buy the plain plugs, put whatever plug you want on, battery, ESC, anything. The solder I like to use is the Miniatronics solder. They do sell this on Amazon. I will put a link to it in the description. It is an affiliate link, so I do appreciate the support, but they also sell this at most hobby shops. This is the best solder. I've tried a bunch of other ones. They're terrible. Just save yourself the money and get this the first time. I will put links to a few of these batteries that you can find on Amazon, as well as other sites if you're interested in purchasing them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.